Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020, and I am in Colorado, just south of Denver, at a place called Daniels Gate Park that is near Castle Pines, which is north of Castle Rock, which is south of Denver. And it's a beautiful day today. A few clouds that are out, and no humidity. I think it's about 76 degrees, so it's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on Facebook Live for teaching, because I was tending last week to my brother's funeral back in Indiana, and then prior to that I was on vacation. So welcome everyone. Welcome Tina Marie, welcome Michelle, welcome Rhonda, welcome Dot from Phoenix. It is just a gorgeous day to be outside. This is my kind of place. I'm learning. It's funny because I have never done ministry before in Colorado, and I've been asked to come here several times, and I'm finally here. So in the middle of a pandemic that is winding down. So anyways, it's good to be here. I've already talked to a pastor actually yesterday, looking to confirm our event for Colorado Springs, which is south of here. And then there are some others that are in Denver and up in Loveland and around. So also, if you are watching and you are from the Colorado area and you want me to come and do some ministry, just go ahead and reach out, send me a private message, or you can send a message to Tina Marie Kirkpatrick, and we will get it set up. I'm planning to be here for the whole month of June, and then I'm supposed to be back in Ohio, Sandusky, Ohio, July the 19th. And then I'll start going towards the East Coast after that. So anyways, had a good vacation. I needed to kind of get away. And then my brother had several strokes, and the last one he had was just a few weeks ago. And he had already been to heaven. He actually gone up to heaven about, I think it was 16 months ago. He went to he was taken away, and it was in front of God, in front of Jesus, and they told him that it wasn't his time yet, but that he had a little more to do before they would take him. And so now he is up there in heaven with my mom and dad, having a great time. And so, yay. So welcome. I see Tammy, Debbie Lee Tanner, Marcia Trumbauer from Indiana. If you're hearing a chirpy kind of sound like that, it's not a bird, even though it kind of sounds like a bird. It's actually, there's some bikers. This is a path that I'm on. It's actually prairie dogs. Prairie dogs make a chirpy kind of sound. And there's probably easily over 1,000 plus prairie dogs in this prairie dog town, I guess is what they call them. And there may be some prairie dogs behind me that will try to sneak up. What's interesting about the prairie dogs, and again, that'll be part of my teaching today, is whenever you get, I don't know, walking in their general direction, they typically take off and run and dive into their hole so that they will be protected, because they oftentimes retreat to their holes for protection. And so yesterday I was on a hike. Wasn't planning to take the hike as long as I did, because I didn't take any water with me. I was planning to just go for a quick run and then come back. And it was a beautiful day, and I decided I'm going to go adventuring. And so I ended up going about an hour and a half towards the mountains. You can actually see the Rocky Mountains behind me. I don't know if I can point like right there. There's some snow up on top of the Rocky Mountains, and I think some of those are up like 14,000 feet. So that's why they have snow up there, when it's going to be like 85 down here today. But it's also nice because you can't see it right where I'm from, but I'll take you on a tour at the end. It would actually walk maybe a mile to where the fish are at, because that blew me away. You know, yesterday here I am on this 90-minute walk and just minding my own business, and then I'm always curious to see what the Lord's going to say. You know, again, after the last couple of weeks, the Lord had been kind of downloading some new stuff to me as far as wanting me to write more, like more blogs, and maybe do a few less Facebook Lives, which is fine with me, because it's like preparing for a sermon every day and talking for an hour. So we'll see how that evolves. But as I'm walking down this path behind me, of course, I see the prairie dogs. That's common. But I see these dead fish, like 3 of them, and they're huge. I mean, 2 of them have to have weighed at least 15 pounds to 20 pounds, maybe. I don't know. They're heavy. I would think they look heavy. They're at least 2 feet long and probably 5 feet thick. 2 of them. There's a 3rd one. And it's like, how did those fish get here? And in fact, it was funny when I first walked past them. Again, that's the prairie dog doing the chirping there. You think they would get tired of chirping after a while, but they don't. So anyways, I go past this fish and 3 of them. I think it's like a carcass of a deer or something like that. So I walk back to investigate, the curiosity of me, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, those are fish. Huh, that's interesting. So I think I took a picture of it, and then I turned around and started continuing on my walk. Then it started occurring to me, why are there fish next to a trail, a walking trail, where I don't see any water, I don't see any creek, I don't see any river, I don't see any lakes, I don't see any ponds? How did those 3 fish get here? I started thinking about that. And then I continued to walk down the pathway towards the mountains, seeing maybe how close I could get, because again, I used to run marathons, so that's 26.2 miles. But after I'd gone an hour and a half in one direction, all of a sudden it occurred to me I was getting thirsty. And when you get thirsty, it's a little late to think about drinking, because you should be drinking to hydrate. So I turned around and came back, and I have my water with me today. So anyway, when I came back, I saw the fish again, just hanging out there. No, actually, before that, I forgot about that. I saw a snake, and I'm like, of course, curiosity, I'm gonna run up to it and try and see what kind of snake that it is before it got away, because it was crossing the trail. So I ran up to it and didn't know what kind it was. They did have warnings saying, look out for rattlesnakes. That's all that I saw. So I was curious to see if it was a rattlesnake, because I'd seen one when I was over at Don Casanova-Leniger's house. What was that? That was about 2 years ago. I was on the front step, and it started rattling when I was trying to come into the front. And I just told it to basically stay there and not strike me, and took a video of it. And then I walked into the door and closed the door, and it didn't strike me, so that was cool. So anyway, I get close to the snake and take a video of it, take a picture of it. And it's at least 6 foot long. It might be 7 foot, I don't know. And I didn't know exactly what kind it was, but I got close enough to the tail and realized the tail didn't have a rattle on it. So I'm like, all right, it's not a rattlesnake. And then it continued to go into the bushes, and I lost track of it. So later I researched it, and it looked like it was a bull snake. And bull snakes actually will like kill rattlesnakes and eat them for lunch. And the bull snakes their bite and stuff they don't have any venom in it. So anyway, took the video of that. Then I came back, took the video of the fish, and I'm like, Lord, is there something that you're saying to me? Because this is kind of interesting. I'm like, not every day that you see a snake, and pretty much never do you see 3 ginormous fish next to a trail where there's no water anywhere within 10 miles is what I found. 10 miles away. The guy that lives in this subdivision that I'm staying at told me. And so then as I came back, I see all these bobblehead prairie dogs that keep like making dives into their holes. And then the Lord, after I finally get to the point, and I'm like really thirsty at this point, starts to give me the download as to what the symbolism was. Because I'm like, there's got to be something, but I'm like, I don't see it. Right now I'm on this path, I'm walking, and I see these annoying prairie dogs that make these chirping sounds. And then the fish, which is just like, what the heck are the fish doing there? period. And it's funny, my brother Chris wrote a message. It's like, well, maybe they had a flood and they got washed downstream. And I'm like, no. I go, they haven't had a flood, and even if they did, they'd probably have to have 100 feet or something of water in order to get the water to somehow get fish from wherever to leave them there. So I'm like, that's not it. And then some people are like, well, maybe a bear got it and a bear left them there. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure a bear didn't do that, because bears kind of eat their fish at the creek or at the river. So I'm like, I don't know. So anyway, the Lord gave me the download, and I'm just going to read this since I wrote it. Since I took the time to write the blog, I'm going to read it, and then I'll probably stop throughout and drill down on it. I'm going to get a drink of water because it's dry. At least when it gets to be 90 here in Denver, they don't have humidity like they do in Texas. So I'm glad I'm not in College Station, Texas, or Houston, where it's very humid. All right, so here I go. So I wrote, what does a bull snake, 3 fish, and prairie dogs have in common with the trail in Denver? So Monday night, I returned to Denver from tending to the funeral of my oldest brother, Keith, from Indiana. I love to go for runs, walks, and hikes, and the weather was perfect in Denver yesterday morning for a long run, walk, and hike on a trail that I had not ventured on before. I went about 90 minutes in one direction towards the Rocky Mountains. On my way out, I noticed something I'd never seen on any of my hikes before that were not around any body of water. Stream, creek, river, pond, lake, or ocean. I saw 3 large fish that were about 18 to 24 inches long. It seemed strange to me, as the nearest stream, creek, and river was over 10 miles away. There was no ponds around that would hold fish that large nearby, as I was near the high point of the area. So this is really, if I'm looking around, and I'll show you when we go on our tour at the end, that this is like the high point. And as we walk that way, I will show you downtown Denver, which is, I don't know, maybe 15 miles as the eagle flies, something like that. In fact, you might hear an eagle screech. I heard one earlier when I was setting up in like that direction. Again, the chirping is the annoying prairie dog. He's like not stopped since I sat down. And I'm a good 100 feet away from that one. I don't see too many prairie dogs actually out right now. So, oh, there's one down here. They actually, it's funny because they go near they don't go far from their holes, put it that way. As soon as you start walking by or running by or biking by it, they normally dive back in. All right, here we go. I then hiked, another 90 minutes, realizing that I did not bring any water with me, decided to return as temperatures were warming. I had noticed a sign warning me about rattlesnakes in the area that I was hiking in. About halfway back to home, I saw a 6-foot-long, might have been 7-foot-long snake crossing the path in front of me. I hurried to get closer to see what kind of snake that it was before it slithered away, and it turned out to be a bull snake, which is non-venomous, and they actually eat the rattlesnakes. So I took a video of it, wondering what the Lord was going to show me about it symbolically. Then I saw the 3 dead fish again, just lying there next to the dusty trail. So I decided to do a video of them, and there's like a gazillion flies around them. In fact, I'll say this. I walked back there again this morning thinking, okay, they've probably been devoured by, they have mountain lions around here. They also have black bears. You know, of course, they have 1,000 prairie dogs, but I don't know that prairie dogs eat fish. Anyway, it was not very much decomposed. In fact, I talked to a couple ladies here before I started my Facebook Live, and they said that they saw the fish and started smelling it and we're not happy with it. And they're like, yeah, they're like giant carp. And I'm like, yeah, that's what a local guy friend of mine told me yesterday. And I was like, huh, you don't see that every day, do you? And they're like, nope, we've never seen it, ever, on this path. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't think you would. I go, you don't have too many rivers and lakes that are upstream that could actually flow down. They're like, yeah, we have none. He said, you know, somebody, they think, just pitched them out, you know. And I'm like, why would they do that right there? I don't know. So, anyways, they are still there. They have not been eaten and devoured like you would think. So, how strange. All right. Then about 30 minutes later, I walked through a huge... Now that was a bird. Now that is a chirp from a prairie dog. So you heard a bird, but we hear more prairie dog chirping here. Then about 30 minutes later, I walked through a huge 20... And again, this could be... There's the bird. This could be, I don't know, more than 20 acres, but it's at least 20 acres of a prairie dog town where they were chirping up a storm like they are right now. As I got close to them, they would run to their holes and dive right in. They would retreat in fear back into their holes, which were their homes. By the way, I really can't see anything you're writing because I'm looking right into the sun. And my phone looks really dark. So, all right. So then as I finished the trail, leading back to the home where I'm staying at, very thirsty, the Lord gave me the interpretation of seeing the bull snake, 3 fish, and prairie dogs, which is actually right here, right that way. I went, and then the Lord gave me the download. So he said the serpent, which was the snake, was a symbol of evil power and chaos, which we are seeing now in the world, throughout the world. Snakes are often a symbol of the spirit of Jezebel, which symbolizes controlling and manipulating other people and shutting down the prophetic voice of the Lord within them. People who operate in the Jezebel spirit will bully other people to make them do what they want out of fear. And so it was so interesting that I saw a bull snake. I don't think that's a coincidence. Bull snake and Jezebel bullies. And a lot of times people do have dreams or visions of snakes when they're dealing with the spirit of Jezebel. So Jezebel, people that have Jezebel threaten people, lie about them, and are very prideful, greedy, and self-centered. They also operate in sexual impurity. I'll throw that in. So, all right, Christians, and this is related to the 3 fish that I saw, again, next to this dry trail. And when I show you this and walk on it, you'll be like scratching your head and saying, why are there 3 fish where they're located at? Because they shouldn't be. So Christians began using the Greek word for fish as an anagram acronym for Jesus Christ, God's Son, Savior. The fish outline, I believe it's pronounced ichthus, is the symbol for Christ. That's the that thing that we see people put on their cars sometimes. It's like the outline of a fish, which is a symbol for Christ. One of the verses it says, and when they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their net was breaking. So prairie dogs are often known for retreating and running back into the holes in the ground when they feel threatened or in fear. Whenever you approach them, they run in fear back to their holes and dive in before you can get very close. So the Lord then showed me the combination of all what these mean, is that we are not to retreat when the enemy comes to attack us. We are to stand up like Jesus Christ and not tolerate anyone who comes against us who has an evil agenda, whether it's a virus, riot, or any other threat from ungodly people who try to control, people in the church, people in good ministries, godly people, people. So many people around the world, including those in church, have been living in fear and bowing down to the enemy. Rise up, O mighty men and women of valor. Fear God more than you do men or women. Don't be bullied or tolerate Jezebel anymore. And I'll just pause there. The Lord just reminded me. So since the whole pandemic thing started, it was in like middle of March that they started to shut down the people traveling and doing business and ministry and all of that stuff. Well, the Lord spoke to me and said, I want you to continue on. And I'm like, what? I can't do that. He said, yeah, you can. Are you going to be like, the masses, or are you going to be like Daniel? When Daniel was prohibited from worshiping the Lord, he continued to worship the Lord. And I'm like, okay, that's true. I go, and then when they threw him in the lion's den, the lions' mouths were closed, and he didn't die. And then they took the bad people that devised the plan to try to trap Daniel, and they threw them in. to the lion's den, along with their wives and their kids. And they all died, like really fast. Can you imagine that? I mean, that'd be so awful. So anyway, that's what I did, is the Lord said, do it. And I'm like, I fear the Lord in a healthy way. And not like I'm afraid. It's like, but I respect the Lord more than I do anyone that's got a virus, anyone that's trying to control other people. Especially, that's obviously my forte, is to help people get delivered from Jezebel. And those that don't want to, they have a legal right to keep Jezebel, but they're not going to have a good life. They're not going to have peace. They're not going to go to heaven. They need to repent. They need to forgive people who hurt them, that caused them to get those spirits. You know, you can't continue to hurt people in such a horrible way, trying to control people, and then expect to be blessed by the Lord and have any fruit whatsoever of being a real Christian. So that's where Matthew 7:21-23 comes in. Lord, Lord, look at all I've done for you. I've cast out demons in your name. I've prophesied in your name, done many wonders in your name. He's like, depart from me, you who practice lawlessness, which is sin. I never knew you, you know. So it's interesting too that, morning. Oh, I love the locals. I don't know if you can see them or not, because I can't see anything hardly in my phone. But Jeremiah Johnson, he had written about how the Lord, actually had an encounter with an actual demonic entity that told him about the pandemic was all about fear, and then riots are all about hate, and then the next thing is going to be greed. And that's exactly spot on. So we have to make sure we as Christians don't act like the prairie dogs and go diving in our homes and just out of fear, okay, obey those who do not have our best interests at heart, who are using fear-based tactics in the enemy to try to collapse our livelihoods, our economies, our churches, and so on. And we surely don't want to be like the dead fish, which a lot of Christians are. They have been going to these churches and they're getting fat like the fish, but they're not learning their authority. They're not walking in their authority in Christ. I remember when I first learned about this back in 2009, changed my life forever. Again, I've been healed from everything, all sicknesses, all pains in my bodies. I don't have headaches anymore. Don't take Tylenol, ibuprofen. Don't take anything. It's the Lord that protects me. He is my provider in health care and everything else. So when I started traveling, you know, I'm like, okay, here I go. Traveled to Las Vegas first. Then I went to, and again, that was such a clean place. It was like the cleanest I've ever seen Las Vegas. All the women were clothed. There were people that were with their families riding bicycles down the strip on the sidewalks. The policemen didn't have anybody to arrest. Nobody was drunk. It was just like family day in Las Vegas. It was amazing. People skateboarding, roller skating. Then I went on to Anaheim, California. We had about 30 people that showed up. Great worship, amazing. So many people got delivered and healed. Again, nobody was getting the coronavirus. And then I went to Ojai, California. In the home, we had, I don't know, probably close to 20 people there. And then I went to San Diego. I had the whole hotel to myself, which was really weird. Again, drove through LA, had no problems, no traffic. It was amazing. And then I ended up ultimately going up to Northern California, did ministry there. Then I went to Portland. Then I went to Seattle, did a weekend conference. We had, I don't know, 25 to 30 people each time at the conference on a Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night. And then I went to Montana. Where did I go to? Billings, Montana. Then I went to vacation, and then came back and went to Gillette, Wyoming. And we had it at a hotel on Friday night and Saturday. And then on Sunday, we had it at a church, Open Door Fellowship. Pastor Ed Sisti. Hello. So, I didn't have 1 ounce of fear or worry about the whole time because I know who I am in Christ. I know the protection the Lord gives me. And it's those values and teachings that I want to get across to the masses, is to say, listen, we need to all learn this. It changed my life when I learned this. I don't spend any more money on healthcare anymore. I haven't spent 1 penny on healthcare products since 2009. And then I've dropped all the insurance because I stopped working for a company that had insurance. And that was in 2012. So it's been 8 years with no insurance, and I'm at peace. And there's just a few amount of people, percentage-wise, of Christians that are taught this, that walk in this, that know it. And it can change our whole lives if we press in and we learn this. But again, we have to have pastors that teach it, and the enemy's going to fight it. The enemy's going to come against, of course, deliverance more than anything, because he knows that is for those who are believers. It's the children's bread, that we should all pursue inner healing and deliverance. Because when you do, you have peace like you can never imagine. And you can walk in the blessings of the Lord. And it doesn't matter who says what or threatens you or what's going on in the world. You're always going to be at peace and have the joy of the Lord and have just a lot of peace, good things. All right, so let me go on. So the enemy in this world has caused many pastors and people of God to run into their homes like the prairie dogs, in fear, and poke their heads out to see if it's okay for them to surface and have church again, according to their local government officials, as well as bowing down to members within their church, operating in the spirit of Jezebel. Then when fear and hatred comes at them, they run and dive back into their homes and wait to see if they are allowed to come back out again. Jesus wants us to be bold and confident in who we are and help lead the world to freedom in him. We cannot tolerate the spirit of Jezebel in anyone, whether it's a local church leader, neighbor, spouse, friend, foe, government, elected official, etc. We need to fear God more than we fear man. Revelations 2:18-23 talks about the corrupt church, which is representative of a lot of churches today. It says, "And to the angel of the church in Thyatira write, these things says the Son of God, who has eyes like a flame of fire and his feet like fine brass. I know your works, love, service, and faith, and your patience. And as for your works, the last are more than the first." So they're doing more works. "Nevertheless, I have a few things against you, because you allow that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants to commit sexual immorality and eat things sacrificed to idols. And I gave her time to repent of her sexual immorality, and she did not repent. Indeed, I will cast her into a sickbed, and those who commit adultery with her into great tribulation, unless they repent of their deeds. I will kill her children with death, and all the churches shall know that I am he who searches the minds and hearts." So that's what he's looking for. He's looking at the minds and hearts. So we can act and fake a lot of people in church and act like we're godly and stuff, but the Lord knows our hearts and our minds. He says, "I will give to each one of you according to your works." 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Again, it's interesting, I remember that Jeremiah Johnson was holding church, big conferences. People were flying in around the country. And this was, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks ago. And nobody was getting the coronavirus. Again, from what I've seen and heard from people that have attended the meetings that I have had, no one's also contracted it. So there is a protection that the Lord will give us if we are willing to stand up for him and to go out and do what the Lord tells us to do. Luke 12:4-7 says, "And I say to you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, and after that have no more that they can do. But I will show you whom you should fear. Fear him who, after he is killed, has power to cast into hell. Yes, I say to you, fear him, which is God. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 copper coins? And not one of them is forgotten before God? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Do not fear, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. So the whole crux of all of this is to understand that we don't want to be like the dead fish, which represent really a lot of the people that are in the church today, that they're attending dead churches, where they all get together and they feel good about themselves because they see their friends at church and they're like, okay, I can check this off. Yay, I went to church, everybody thinks I'm a Christian. And then they return in the car and they start fighting and striving and arguing with their spouse and their children. And then they do things throughout the week that are ungodly, and behaviors that are ungodly, and they could be into sexual sins. And the Lord sees it all. He knows their hearts and their minds. And when it comes to a pandemic, then they get into fear and worry. Oh my gosh. Then they look at, okay, who's going to provide my protection for me? Is it going to be a mask? Is it going to be washing my hands all the time, taking showers, putting on oils? Or is it going to be the Lord and knowing our authority in it? You know, it's changed my life since I learned all this. I don't worry about anything. And I will say this, when I flew from the Denver airport through Minneapolis to Indy, they required everybody to wear masks. So I ended up complying. Got on the plane. I thought it was interesting that they gave out snacks and everybody took their masks off to eat. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So if people truly have the virus, then what happens when people take off their mask and they eat and they sneeze or they cough? You know, it's like, oh my gosh. And then I went to Minneapolis, and I'd say that most people had worn masks in the Denver airport. I come to Minneapolis, and I noticed probably half the people are wearing masks walking around the airport. Come to Indy, I got there late, so like 10:30. Hardly anybody was there. Then when I turned around, and in fact, I could probably walk and talk at the same time. Let me pop this off of here. Here we go. So, I'm going to go on a walk. In fact, maybe I will flip it around. I think I will. There we go. So here's where the prairie dogs are at. And we'll see, like here's a hole. Pretty big hole. And we'll see, maybe that when it gets this warm, they stay underground. There's one out there running on the field. All right, so anyway, so I go to the Indianapolis airport. My flight leaves like at 4 something, and I did not wear a mask in the airport, and I went through security. Nobody said you got to wear a mask. And then here comes a runner. Maybe I'll pause here. Hello. And so I'm walking to my gate, and I notice that there's like nobody in the airport. Like the Starbucks is shut down, all the different restaurants are shut down. They have a whole bunch of signs that saying coming soon with all these restaurants that are boarded up, and there's nobody there. In fact, I sang the song all by myself because there's nobody there. Again, you can see how high I am. The mountains are over there, the Rocky Mountains. Denver's on the other side of that, whatever that is, bluff. And these are houses up here. So again, we're walking to the dead fish. And look at that, isn't it interesting here? This path. It kind of reminds me of the path that we go on in life. Has many twists, like this path here. Up. Hear the chirps of the prairie dogs? There's a couple over there. So there's many paths or twists on our path of life. And there's many ups and downs. Like right here, I'm going down, and then I'll be going up, and then I'll be going down. So I think this is very symbolic. When I did my walk yesterday, and so anyway, back to Indianapolis, it took a while before I started seeing people. I mean, it felt like it was my own private airport for, I don't know, an hour and a half. And I was like, there was only something like 12 flights that were departing from like, I don't know, 2 o'clock on. Only one flight flying to Atlanta, which is crazy because I remember I used to fly to Atlanta frequently, and there was like a flight almost every hour on Delta. And so again, I'm not wearing my mask, enjoying breathing like normal. And I'd say probably 20% of the people at the Indianapolis airport were wearing the masks. Then, when we boarded, they made everybody wear them. And I was flying to Chicago on United. So I put mine on, thinking, oh my gosh. But I didn't put it on my nose, because if I did that, it would fog up my glasses. So I could breathe through my nose. And so we get on the flight, and it's probably 2/3 full. Then we get to Chicago Airport, O'Hare, and I would guess 85% of the people, 90% maybe, walking through Chicago had masks on. There goes a prairie dog. Oh, it stood up in the air, put its hands up like it's praising the Lord. There's another prairie dog there. Hello, prairie dog. Say hi. Look, he's running. See? To his hole. Up. One over there is chirping, standing up. Hello, prairie dogs. Run to your holes. Go to your homes. Alrighty, back on the path, because we're going to search for the fish, the 3 dead fish. Again, can you imagine finding fish on this path? There's a bird. Wonder what happens when we walk up. See? Look at the prairie dog. There goes the bird. Hey, prairie dog. Oh, he just jumped into his hole. See? We don't want to be like prairie dogs, where they get into fear and they all jump in their homes and they don't come out because they're in fear. When we know who we are in Christ, we don't fear anything. Period. There's another bird. Hello, bird. He's got his mouth open. Not making a sound. There he goes. Okay, so here we are, walking down the path of life, and the enemy is going to try to come against you. Again, the snake that I saw, I don't know if we'll see another snake. That would be fortunate if we do, because that would be playing in really well to the topic of the day. I don't see any right now. There's another bird. Another prairie dog. Wow. Interesting. Wonder what the symbol, I don't even know what kind of bird that is. It's black and white. Maybe it's a skunk bird. Maybe they smell. Here goes another prairie dog into its hole. Again, there's like thousands of prairie dogs out here in this prairie dog colony. So, here we are walking down the path of life, and what's interesting is that we all get hurt by people, what they say, what they do. As we're growing up, the enemy knows if he can hurt you early in life, then it can affect you for the rest of your life, because you can't handle it when you're a little child. There's another prairie dog right there. Hello, prairie dog. Oh, he just went in the hole. Oh, there's another prairie dog going into its hole. Don't you want to play? It's okay. There's no virus out here. Oh, went to the hole again. And so, what we have learned is that when we get our soul wounds healed from the past, have Jesus come, and oftentimes it can be through ministries where we learn about this, because unfortunately, many churches don't want to talk about. They want to say, well, you ask Jesus to come into your heart, so therefore you can't have demons. Well, gee, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with fear still. I'm struggling with anxiety. Well, then you need to speak Bible verses over yourself and pray in tongues and fast. And then it doesn't work. Like, well, I've tried everything. Well, have you ever asked Jesus to come to heal your wounds? Look at that. There's a... Hello. Oh, there, prairie dog. There he goes. And so, what we've learned is that we need to forgive people who have hurt us in the past and in the present and in the future at all times. Because if you don't, and the enemy's going to try to send his best and finest to hurt you along the path of life. There's a little baby. Went into its hole. There's another chirping prairie dog. So anyway, we have to be in a consistent state of forgiving people, and as you become more mature in your walk, then the enemy's job is to try to send more mature people with demons to do things to hurt you, to betray you, to come alongside and act like they're for you, and then in reality they're not, and that can really hurt a person. And as you get stronger in who you are, you forgive people of everything, always, to stay clean, have your soul wounds cleansed. But we have to be taught this. And if the church is neglecting its duty through pastors that aren't willing to teach, and I get it, the Lord has been showing me that a lot of the pastors have these churches, some of them are larger than others, and they know that if they talk to them about getting delivered, soul wounds healed, forgiveness, and that they could possibly be operating in the spirits of Jezebel, then that person's going to probably lie about them and try and turn other people away from them. And that could hurt their church. And they could lose followers, lose tithers, lose money, and they want to get paid. So what they do is they compromise and they tolerate. And I'm telling everyone we cannot tolerate and compromise anymore, because we'll all be like those prairie dogs who jump into their holes out of fear with just one threat from someone operating in those demonic spirits. We need to be fearing the Lord, not people. So I think that makes sense. Hello. Lots of runners outside here. Okay, there's downtown Denver that way. Probably have to zoom in. And then there's the Rocky Mountains over there. Rocky Mountains are west of Denver. Now we're getting closer to the dead fish. Now we don't want to be a dead fish, a fish out of water, as there are many that attend church that really, they don't know their authority. They get into fear easily. They've got wounds from their past. They get wounded easily in their present. They take offense easily. They can lie. And I was thinking about this last night, talking to my friend here in Denver, and I was like, you know what? When people aren't healed in their soul, then they're going to hear the voices of the demonic spirits, the enemy, that will cause them to behave and do things that are not godly. that are not good. And then what they do is they lie about it. And they'll also lie about other people. And that's how that spirit Jezebel works. And then people who do get their wounds healed and delivered, they're not behaving sinfully. You know, they're not to say they're not perfect, but the sin doesn't have a hold on them anymore. They don't have a desire to sin, like say sexually, say pornography or having sex with other people, stuff like that. And so they don't have anything to really cover up. They are an open book and they're transparent. And that's the life of what Christ wants for all of us. And then our path, like we're walking down this path right now, we just understand that the enemy will try to send a snake across our path and try to bully us, like the bull snake I saw yesterday. Try to cause us to have fear or bow down to them and do what they say. And we will then walk in the full authority with Christ and say, I'm not going to... Oh, somebody's coming on my left with a bicycle. And there they go. I wish I had a bike right now. Because you realize, me walking this way, I am going to have to walk back. So, I bought a hiking shirt that's very soft from a place in the mountains west of here. And it is my first official hiking shirt. I've been basically doing my hikes in my running shirts. So, all right, so we are getting closer to the dead fish that we don't want to be, that symbolizes many people in the church. We want to be a fish in water and not out of water. Getting closer, getting thirstier. But yeah, it is interesting. You are healed and delivered. It's like you're not doing things that you have to cover up and protect. It's those who are unhealed that continue to get triggered, and they could have addictions to things that are counterfeit. They can desire to control people, to make them do what they want. They can be jealous, ultra jealous. They can feel rejected and betrayed at the drop of a hat when a person's trying to put up a healthy boundary. So again, there's Denver down there. I'm not sure what those buildings are there. That might be Aurora. Aurora is southeast of Denver. Yeah, and also if there's anyone watching that is from, I don't know, Denver, Colorado, that wants me to come speak this month, again, reach out, send a message to either me or to Tina Marie Kirkpatrick, and we'll get it scheduled. I talked to a pastor yesterday that's from Colorado Springs, which is south of here, like, I don't know, 40 minutes. So I am planning to get that scheduled, and then there's a couple more that are from Denver and Loveland that looking to confirm. Okay, we're getting really close now to the dead fish. Now watch, we'll get there and they'll be gone. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, or maybe there'll be a bear. Oh, I'd love to see a black bear or a mountain lion. Of course, mountain lions can probably run faster than I can. Bears probably can too. But we are protected. We do not have fear. Alrighty. We are now maybe a minute and a half away of seeing the dead fish. Again, can you imagine seeing fish on a trail like this? There's no water anywhere. It's dry and crunchy. You can hear the crickets cricketing. Oh, almost there. Here comes another runner. All right. Hello. All righty. I am sensing the fish are going to be here. And it's interesting that there's 3. And it's interesting that it was 3 hours that I went hiking yesterday. And there were 3 different types of animals, including the mammal, the prairie dogs, the fish, and then the reptile, the snake. Alrighty, there's downtown Denver over there. There's the Rocky Mountains there. And the fish are getting close, really close now. Really, really close. Super, super. Oh, there they are. I see them. Oh my goodness. Bunch of flies all around them. So Ken, can you imagine right there are the fish? Ew. It's something smelling fishy. We don't want to be dead fish. Ew. And there's the road. And we're up high. So strange. Again, to see fish on a walking trail. Don't know how they got there, and according to the locals, they would have just gotten there like around yesterday morning when I took my walk. So symbolic. All right, well, that's about all of my teaching for the day. So I will let you guys go, and again, don't be a dead fish, don't be a prairie dog, and don't let the snakes and Jezebels cause you to get into fear and then jump into your home out of that fear. We need to be bold and confident like Christ. So there you go. Alrighty, I will let you go. See ya. Bye.